month, and so I'll repeat that, August the 31st, and it's Monday. So I want to tell you a little story, and then the point of it will become obvious. It was early in the morning in Los Angeles several years ago, and a motorcycle cop, his name was Bob Vernon, he saw a red pickup truck speed through a stop sign. So he turned on his siren and he gave chase. So when the pickup pulled over, Vernon approached the driver's side door to ask for ID. But what he didn't know was that the driver had just been engaged in an armed robbery at a convenience store, and he had a sack of stolen money on the seat sitting right there by the side of it. So no sooner had Vernon had approached the driver and said, "Good morning, sir, may I see your..." At that moment, the driver pulled out his gun and fired into the policeman's chest from just 4 inches away. The force of the blast pushed the policeman back 7 feet, where he fell to the ground. So believing that the officer was dead, the driver prepared to pull away. But just then Vernon stood up, pulled out his service revolver and fired twice. The first bullet went through the open window and smashed the windshield, and the second one tore through the door and ripped into the driver's leg. The driver began to scream, "Don't shoot, don't shoot!" And he threw his gun and his money out of the pickup window and was placed under arrest. So you might go, "Hey, wait, time out. That robber just shot Vernon from a few inches away, and there's no way that police officer should have been able to recover from that. Except there's one thing that I didn't tell you, and there's one thing that the robber didn't know, and that was that Vernon was wearing a Kevlar vest. It was only 3 inches of an inch thick, but it was strong enough to stop a bullet. So today I want to talk about that, and I want to read to you Ephesians 6. Ephesians 6 verse 10. "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." So Paul is telling us in this verse that we are to put on our armor. We're to put on the Kevlar vest that we have. Take up the whole armor of God. And the policeman in the story that I told you about had his armor on, and as a result, he was able to withstand what should have been a fatal attack. And the scripture tells us that we have armor like that allows us to stand up and to stand firm. The problem is with a lot of the church that there's kind of a disconnect going on. This passage seems to imply that there's a fight going on, right? That we're engaged in something of a war, and that whether we win or whether we lose might depend on how prepared we are. But a lot of churchgoers, a lot of us even, seem unaware that there is in reality a war going on. And many of the ones who are aware there's a war going on have misidentified the enemy. Now, I'm bringing this up because today is the last day of August, and we're about to go into September and into then October and a few days in November, in what is undoubtedly the most contentious election period that I've ever seen. And not only are we in Arizona in such a contentious time, but we're also in what is apparently one of the most contested states. As you know, last week, or just over a week ago, Denise and I were in California. And I remember commenting to her, "Where's all the election ads? Over there, They're not there because I don't understand the dynamics of all of that. But apparently Arizona is one of the key battlegrounds. And here's my thought for the day. Here's what I wanted to tell you as we enter this last 60 some days. If you and I are not careful, we are going to get caught up in all of this. So I want you to know, is there a fight going on? Yes, absolutely there is. Is there a fight that we as Christians should be engaged in? Yes, absolutely. But the question is, who is the enemy? Is the enemy one politician or another? No, I don't believe so. Paul said that we are engaged in a spiritual fight. So I want you to stop wasting your time fighting people. Too many churches have not taken their faith seriously. Too many Christians have forgotten why they exist. They've forgotten, or maybe never even realized, that there's a war going on and that we, as Bible-believing Christians, have a role to play. But the role is not on social media. The role is not by being contentious. The role is by realizing we are in a spiritual battle. And how do you win a spiritual battle? You don't win a spiritual battle by having public arguments. You win a spiritual battle by doing spiritual battle. And how do you do that? You do it on your knees. I read in a Reader's Digest a story of a mother who was called her son, who was deployed to Iraq. And she called him one weekend just to ask him how he was doing. And she asked him, so, hey son, do you have to work on Sunday? And it went quiet for a minute, and he came back and said, Mum, we have to work every day. We're in a war. So that's the message. We're in a war. We are called to be prepared to engage our enemy, not just for a few hours a day. We are engaged in a full-time war. And if ever we forget that, there'll come a time when we are not prepared. So what do I mean? Go back to the story. The story was of a policeman who was able to survive what should have been a fatal attack because he was prepared. That doesn't mean he was in the local pub arguing about something or in some other social environment. He had put on his armor. He had put on that Kevlar vest. So my question to you is, who is our enemy? Who are we fighting? In our day and age, many Christians seem to believe that our enemies are some political party, or that our enemies are maybe even some church down the street, or maybe some friend or group of friends who don't agree with us about one thing or another. And sometimes even their enemies are sitting in church with them. Well, how misguided is that? That is not who our enemy is. Our enemy is the enemy of our soul. What do you do when you identify an enemy? You attack them. You wage war. And if you're not careful, you see every day now Christians going after other people, going after other folks, trying to take them down, destroy their reputations. But in reality, God tells us those people are not our enemies. They may be annoying. They may be really opinionated. And I understand that that can be really produce tension. But we are not contending against flesh and blood. But we are contending against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness. And guess what, folks? We don't do it by just doing what everybody else is doing. We have a unique set of weapons. We have a unique set of ways that we can do battle. We are fighting against spiritual wickedness. You can't see spiritual wickedness, but that doesn't mean they're not there. The reality is you can't see COVID. You can see the impact of it. You can see that men are committed as far as they're able to say, well, we're going to defeat it. And, I don't know. I mean, the reality is that they are not guaranteed success in that fight. I'm not saying that they're not going to have success, but I'm just saying they're not guaranteed success. But guess what? You and I are guaranteed success. We are told that no, we can't see the enemy, but we better believe if we want to win a war. I've told you this 100 times because Morris Cerullo, when he was alive, he drilled it into my head. He said the first step to win a war is to realize you're in one. So make up your mind not to give up this fight. Make up your mind you're going to do battle. And how do you do battle? You pray about it. You ask God to intervene. And you make sure that you do what it said in verse 13 that we just read. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. So over the course of the next day or two, I may come back and talk to you about the armor of God. But the first 5 pieces of armor that are listed are defensive. You can have your gun in your holster, but if the enemy comes along and takes a pop shot, you better have the belt of truth. And I won't talk about it today, but I pray that you understand what I'm saying today. Let's just commit that over the next 60 days, we're going to spend time in prayer. We're not going to waste time arguing with people. You're never going to persuade somebody. There's nobody as blind as the one who doesn't want to see. But this battle and every battle that we're engaged with is won in the spirit realm. So I pray today that you'll just first understand that and then make a commitment to put on your armor every day, that when the enemy comes along and takes that unexpected shot at you out the window, doesn't matter, that shot's going to bounce off because you are equipped. So that's my thought for the day. Last day of August, first day of September tomorrow, and I just pray that you'll realize the truth of what I've tried to say today, and I pray that you'll experience His favor, His protection. I pray that you'll experience His wisdom, and I pray that every day you'll remember what kind of a battle you're in. So the Lord bless you, keep you, make His face to shine upon you, and tomorrow I'll be back. Love you all. God bless. Bye-bye.